My name is Rena Hale, and I was halfway through the TSA line in Orlando when my sister pressed a crumpled schedule into my palm like a handoff to the help. Snack times. Nap times. A note that read, "Take them back to the room every afternoon." The paper smelled faintly of applesauce and perfume. I didn't look up right away. I watched the belt pull gray bins into the scanner, watched a toddler melt down near a stack of strollers, watched security wave a man back for forgetting his watch. Airports tell the truth about people. Who waits? Who pushes? Who expects? "Isn't that easier for you?" my sister said, already turning to find better lighting for a selfie. "We have a reservation at Orbit Lounge." "Easier for me." The phrase fit like a bruise over an old bruise. I slid the schedule into my coat pocket and let my face go still. I could have argued. I could have reminded her I'd booked the flights, the suite, the dining, the shows, the little surprises tucked into the days like quiet gifts. I could have said I wasn't the babysitter on the trip I paid for. Instead, I counted the beats between announcements, final boarding here, change of gate there, and felt something colder than anger settle into place. Air conditioning licked the back of my neck. My parents were a few people ahead shuffling IDs. The boys were vibrating with sugar and freedom. My brother-in-law stared into the middle distance like inconvenience owed him an apology. I put a hand on my suitcase handle and tried the sentence in my mouth the way you test a key. It turned smoothly. I didn't owe anyone a scene. I owed myself a decision. So I smiled, nodded, and let them move forward without me. If they wanted a schedule, I would give them one. It just wouldn't be the one they wrote. The funny thing about being the organized one is everyone thinks it's your hobby, as if order comes from joy, not survival. I built my life on precision because chaos was the family dialect, and my competence became their convenience. This trip began like most obligations disguised as love. "It'll be so fun to go together," my mother said. "The boys adore you," my sister added. "Love dressed up as assignment." I booked the flights, reserved the resort-mapped walking times, labeled the shared folder, Sun State Adventure Hale Family. Told myself it was generosity, not servitude. Then came the Venmo silence, the "we'll settle later," the way my sister forwarded my plans to the group chat like they were hers. 2 nights before departure, Mom sent the wrong email, "Rena will handle everything. She's basically staff anyway." And my sister's reply, "Perfect. Free childcare, so Evan and I can relax." I didn't confront them. I packed sunscreen and Band-Aids and ironed my linen shirt. There's a quiet that comes before a boundary snaps, still water before a storm. At the airport, the schedule I'd built pressed against my pocket. They thought love meant obligation. They were wrong. It was about to mean honesty. The plane had barely leveled when a juice box exploded across my sleeve. The boys laughed. My sister posed for her phone. Evan closed his eyes. My parents whispered about retirement. I cleaned the mess, cued the cartoon's reflex, not resentment. Kids don't weaponize you, adults do. One nephew fell asleep on my shoulder, warm and trusting. I loved them. That was the problem. "You're so good with them," my sister said sweetly. "Don't know how I'd do this trip without you." Compliment as leash. Then she waved a glossy brochure. "Evan and I booked a couple's brunch. You'll take the boys for naps, you're patient." I looked at the champagne photo, then my sticky sleeve. 2 worlds. Mine wasn't the one she imagined. I didn't mention my card held every reservation. I just nodded. When we landed, they stretched, laughed, reapplied lipstick. I steadied the luggage. Habit. Then at TSA, the itinerary sat folded in my hand, smug and certain. The boys ran ahead. The family shuffled forward. I stepped out of line. Not dramatically, not angrily, just intentionally. The first act of leaving is rarely loud. It's a quiet pivot no one notices until you don't come back. I slipped out of the TSA maze with the same grace I use when leaving a meeting that's turned unproductive quiet confidence. No explanation, no eye contact. My family moved forward, unaware the invisible cord tying me to their expectations had just been cut. I walked toward a pillar wrapped in faux tropical leaves, the hum of rolling suitcases and airport announcements folding around me like camouflage. I exhaled once, Just enough to steady the hand that opened my phone. The Sun State Resort app was still pinned at the top of my screen, the icon bright and childish, promising magic. I tapped it the way a surgeon might press into skin before making the first incision. My reservation appeared Coral Towers 7 guests, 3 nights. The modify button waited like a dare. I hit cancel. The system warned me about losing the $500 deposit. I thought about the schedule in my pocket. I thought about years of being the default adult, the family backbone, the quiet, steady giver. I tapped confirm. Next came the park passes linked to my account under cheerful nicknames and bright profile bubbles. One by one, I unassigned each ticket from their names. They vanished from my digital wallet like ghosts dissolving. I kept one. Mine. I clicked to reschedule for 6 months later, a solo date with joy, not duty. A warning popped up about a $150 change fee. I didn't flinch. My heart wasn't racing. It was humming. Purpose has a pulse. I opened the airline app. A single seat to Santa Fe left in 49 minutes. Middle seat, no upgrades. I bought it. Sometimes freedom isn't first class, it's escape at any cost. My phone buzzed texts from my sister. Maddie, where'd you go? Maddie, bathroom. Then, Maddie, can you take Max while we grab coffee? He's cranky. Of course he was. Kids feel tension before adults admit it exists. I typed nothing. Instead, I opened my email and began writing with the calm of someone who'd rehearsed this moment in every version of her past exhaustion. Subject: resignation from family logistics. Due to repeated misunderstandings about my role, I am stepping back from coordination and childcare responsibilities. The resort booking has been canceled and tickets have been unlinked from my account. You may contact Sun State Guest Services for rebooking. I wish everyone a relaxing trip. Take care. Rena. I read it once. Clean, adult, not cruel, just accurate. I hit send. A boarding announcement echoed overhead, and somewhere near gate C-17, a toddler shrieked in delight. Life continued. But mine had just forked. When my family finally noticed I wasn't beside them anymore, I imagined they would scan the crowd expecting me to appear with a solution. I'd spent years appearing. Today I disappeared instead. And as I walked toward my gate, I didn't feel guilty. I felt whole. Santa Fe didn't greet me with fireworks or triumph music. It welcomed me with quiet sunlight spilling across adobe walls, the soft scrape of luggage wheels on stone, the smell of roasted chilies drifting in the air. Freedom rarely arrives like a parade. It comes like a deep breath you didn't know your ribs had space for. I checked into a small inn off Canyon Road. No cartoon characters, no screaming children, no themed breakfast buffet. Just hand-painted tiles, warm wood, and a front desk clerk who said, "We leave coffee out all day. Take what you need. Take what you need." I'd almost forgotten what that felt like. The first evening, I sat in a courtyard wrapped in string lights, hands around a mug of Pinot coffee, watching the sky bleed into a watercolor dusk. For the first time in a long time, nobody needed me. Nobody interrupted my thoughts mid-sentence. Nobody assumed I would bend to fit them. My phone vibrated. Then again. I turned it face down on the table like a misbehaving child. I'd promised myself space. Still a part of me, old habit, old duty, cracked open. I checked once. 37 missed calls, 16 voicemails, a string of texts. Mom. Where are you? Dad. Call back. This is serious. Maddie. You stranded us with 2 kids. Are you kidding, Maddie? We can't rebook the suite. Do you know how hard that was to get Maddie? I told the boys Auntie got lost. Fix this. Evan. This isn't cool. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about the labor they lost. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. A familiar instinct, soothe, explain, smooth the edges, so no one cuts a finger. But I remembered the schedule crumpled in my pocket, the email calling me staff, the juice box bursting over my sleeve while adults rested like royalty. People don't change when you complain. They change when you stop carrying them. I locked the screen. A tear surprised me, not for them, but for every version of myself who thought love meant service. It slid down so quietly it almost felt respectful. I wiped it before anyone could see and ruined the privacy of it. Later in my room, I texted one person, Priya. Landed. Safe. I did it. Her reply came fast. Proud of you. Boundary is not abandonment. It's oxygen. I lay back on the bed, listening to the ceiling fan hum, letting my body discover what rest felt like when not earned by exhaustion but chosen by dignity. I didn't respond to my family. Not that night. Silence, I realized, is sometimes the most adult language. And in that stillness, I didn't feel like I'd run away. I felt like I'd finally arrived somewhere I belonged. My own life. When I flew back to Chicago, the cold hit like clarity. Airports feel different when you're returning to yourself instead of duty. I didn't check my phone. I already knew what waited their urgency disguised as care. 2 days later, my parents wanted to talk in person. Code for take your old role back. Their living room looked the same family photos lemon cleaner, but the balance had shifted. Or maybe I had. Mom sat rigid on the couch. Dad leaned forward like a disappointed dean. Maddie folded her arms. Evan hovered near the window. The boys were wisely absent. We were worried, Mom said. You were inconvenienced, I corrected. There's a difference. Families help each other, Dad began. Yes, I said. Help, not assign, not exploit. I placed the printed email on the table. She's basically staff. Maddie's face drained. I didn't mean... You meant it enough to write it, I said. And Mom meant it enough to send. Silence thickened. You think we phrased it poorly? I asked. Or are you just used to unpaid labor disguised as love? I stood straighter. I'm not your child care planner or buffer. If you want my help, here are the terms. I set down a folder. Shared costs up front. Professional child care not assumed. Clear expectations. Mutual consent. Mom blinked. A contract with family. A boundary, I said. Written because spoken didn't work. No shouting, just discomfort, quiet, and new. I buttoned my coat. This isn't distance. It's respect. Then I left the door closing softly behind me. I didn't need to win. I just needed to stop losing myself. Weeks later, my life exhaled. Mornings stretched without guilt. Every buzz of my phone no longer felt like a summons. When you stop being the safety net, people learn to balance. I planned the first family dinner on neutral ground. A Lakeview restaurant. Warm lights, low chatter. No ghosts. They arrived in waves, my parents tentative, Maddie poised but nervous. Evan polite. We ate. Small talk filled cracks that still showed. After plates cleared, I laid an envelope on the table. Not dramatic, I said. Just clarity. Inside family logistics terms. No legalese, just fairness, shared expenses requested, help not assumed. Respect in writing. Dad read first and nodded quiet understanding. Mom traced the edge. Evan exhaled. Maddie whispered. I didn't realize how much we were taking. That's how taking works, I said. It's invisible to the receiver. The boys miss you, she added. I miss them too, I said. I'll be here when I'm respected, not required. It wasn't cinematic, just real. We split the check evenly. Outside, I hugged them all, then knelt to the boys. Their arms were small but sure. Dignity matters, I whispered. And so do you. The night air was clean. Peace didn't roar, it settled. I hadn't left my family. I'd reintroduced myself to them. I didn't walk away from my family. I walked away from a role they never asked me if I wanted, and I never asked myself if I deserved more than. That's the thing about boundaries. People call them walls when they can no longer climb you. They call it selfish when they lose access to the parts of you they never earned in the first place. But peace is not a punishment, and distance is not revenge when the goal is dignity, not dominance. I used to think love meant carrying everyone. Now I understand love is choosing when to lift and when to step back so no one forgets how to stand. My family didn't break. They adjusted. I did too. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is not fire. It's refusal. Not slamming the door, but closing it softly and waiting on the other side until the knocking changes tone. I don't need them to thank me. I just need us to meet as equals. One day when the boys are older, they'll hear the story. They'll learn that Aunt Rena didn't leave, she led by example. They'll grow up knowing that love with no boundaries isn't love. It's sacrifice mislabeled as loyalty. And if there's one lesson I hope they hold, it's this. You don't have to earn space in the world by shrinking inside of it. The trip I paid for didn't take me to a theme park. It took me somewhere better, somewhere quieter, steadier, and finally mine. My life isn't a vacation I plan for others anymore. It's a home I'm still learning to live in with the door open for those who knock with respect. and closed to anyone who assumes they never needed to.